that's what makes, I think, reading certain books, certain pieces so enjoyable for a reader, is when you sense that the author has had fun in writing it versus laboring over. There's some that are beautiful, but you can tell that the author has labored over constructing these beautiful, ornate, sentences or scenes or something like that. And that's great. Respect that. But there's something else where something feels just very light.
And not to suggest that it's not hard work, obviously.
No.
It's hard work.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's even harder.
He's writing I feel like he's writing to please himself first and foremost. Like, I like this. I would read, and I think there's something,
There's value to that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Welcome to Bookish, a casual book club. And I am one of your three hosts, Kofi Adisa, along with...
I'm Laura Yu.
And I'm Sylvia Lee.
And this is our, I guess we could say, annual summer reading list, because we've been doing this for a while. I can't remember how many summers this is, but we have a series of books that we're going to be reading individually and one book that we're going to read together. And so I think it might be good to start with what we're going to be reading and then end with what we're going to read as a collective.
Sounds good.
All right. Who wants to start?
You start.
Why did I start? Well, okay. All right. I'll start. So one of the things I've been doing is trying to read academic adjacent books. They're not really academic books, but they're sort of adjacent. And one of those books is called Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle by Nagoski and Nagoski. They're two sisters who wrote this book to sort of talk to women about the stress and struggles of being women and their identities. And what I find applicable to this is that in many ways, some of the things that we do as educators fall in some of the categories that they talk about. And I'm also part of a reading circle that is not as clever as ours, but it is a reading circle nonetheless. And this is one of the books that we'll be featuring in that circle. The other book is by Adrienne Maree Brown called Emergent Strategy. And that's, again, one of those books that is not necessarily academic in nature, but it's kind of adjacent. And then I have a couple of academic books that I am finishing. One is by April Baker Bell called Linguistic Justice, Black Language, Literacy, Identity, and Pedagogy. That's a book that I've been trying to read throughout the semester, so I'm going to use the summer to read that. And so those are the three books that I'm definitely going to read, or if I haven't already started reading them.
Is Burnout specifically about women, you said?
It is.
Oh, okay.
It is. It is addressed to women.
Interesting. How did that get selected by your reading group?
I think all of us were sitting in a room and we wanted to read a book, and this title came up, and others had already read Emergent Strategy and I hadn't, but they hadn't read Burnout and I hadn't. So I said, hey, I'll do it. And there's two guys and three women. So, I started reading it, and then like the opening page is just like, this is two women. And I thought, oh, okay, well, you know what? I could learn from this. This so what? It's two women. I know women.
Yeah. You do.
I have a wife and a daughter.
And you're sitting with two of us?
Yes.
And two friends, who are women. So yeah, maybe I'll learn something about you. And the stresses of, and a lot of it is not something new, but it's the way they frame it. And they have these vignettes of two other women, or three other women actually, in the things they go to in terms of how other women look at their bodies, how they embody trauma differently, and certain expectations that are placed on women. Even if they know these expectations are being placed on them, they sometimes have a hard time resisting those burdens. And so the human giver syndrome is one of those things, and that women often feel like they have to give. Yeah. And the people who take from them are the human beings because they're able to exist without having to give anything. And so it's that. And I find that a good connection to what academics do, because I think in a lot of ways, male, female, and all those in between, I think if you're in this profession, you are trying to give and you want to invest in student success and student learning, and you sort of burden yourself with that in a way that is similar but not the same as what women do.
Yeah.
And Emergent Strategies, since I started reading that, is a little more, in the 90s I would have called it New Age. It's somewhat philosophical. It definitely looks at trauma, stress, but also healing and what it means to forgive and what it means to just exist and be. And so it's kind of artistically written and it's creative in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of different types of psychology, spirituality that is tapped into. So it's an interesting read. It's definitely different than April Baker Bell.
Okay.
Wait, so are you reading all of these at the same time?
Yeah, I've gotten into this habit, and I think it's from grad school. You know, when you're in grad school, you got to read so many books at a certain amount of time. And so I've gotten in this habit of starting like multiple books at the same time. And my strategy for some of the books like Burnout and April Baker Bell and some of the other ones is I read the introductions first, and then I read the conclusion, and then I read the middle. And in that way, I have a sense of what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So then I look at how they develop it throughout. And that's pretty much the reading strategy I teach students in the classroom.
Okay.
Like,
That's actually the strategy I use when I'm doing research.
Yeah.
And like going through a lot of these like peer-reviewed articles or journals. I'll go intro, recommendations, findings, and then look at the methodology in the middle.
yeah, absolutely.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, and it actually helps me get through the books a lot sooner because I understand what they're arguing, and now I'm looking at their examples or look at how they're
arriving
at those things, those conclusions. It doesn't work for all books.
Well, for fiction,
I have a friend who recently just told me that she reads a lot. She says she reads the last page.
And wait, of every book? Like, doesn't matter the genre?
Yeah, she has to know how it ends before she actually reads the book.
Well, so then when she's watching a show like on Netflix, does she go to the end?
I don't know.
And
I don't know
watch
about
that?
the TV thing. Yeah, but she's like an avid reader, and she was like, and I looked at her like, like what?
Yeah, that would. I don't know. I like fiction unfolding.
Me too.
Right.
And I feel like if I already know how it ends,
Yeah.
then I don't want to know.
Exactly.
I already know.
I wonder if it's like, I'm totally conjecturing, but maybe like some kind of comfort in knowing how it ends, and then the journey of the experience of watching it unfold, it's good, but I thought that was really interesting.
What are you reading?
So I started this week this book called A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. And this is the book that I actually bought it like a used copy a while ago from like a thriftbooks.com or something. And it's been sitting on my shelf. And I noticed that this is the book that everyone is crying about on TikTok.
Really?
I don't know if you've come across it. Like,
oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't really know what to expect. It says it's about four friends living in New York. They're college roommates, and now they're post-college and making their way, in their adulthood, I guess. And I'm like 20 pages in right now, and I can see the characters building. Like, I haven't seen anything sad yet, but yeah, every single video on a book talk that I've seen about this book, people are like bawling. So I'm thinking, okay, I think there's some kind of trauma involved. So that'll probably come up later. And this is like a longer book. It's like 400 or 500 pages long. And last summer I was so proud of having finished Love Song of W.E.B. Du Bois. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to try another big book. So I'm going to the beach in a couple of weeks. And so I'm hoping to like make a dent in it then. The other book that I'm reading is called Bite by Bite. And it's by a poet named, bear with me.
You can do
learned it. I learned it. Aimee Nezhukumatathil. Yeah. So it's a collection of essays about food. And each essay is like literally 2-3 pages long. And there's a little essay about rice. There's an essay about mangoes and lychees. And it's just so beautiful. And really, it's about food. Each chapter is about the food. And sometimes she'll include some, facts and some research materials about it, where the food comes from, the history, and so all that. But of course, each story is really her story about grandma or grandfather, or I think she's half Filipina, half Indian, I think. And so there's a lot of backstories about her families and the foods that sort of, I don't know, tie memories to the foods. So what I've been doing is I leave the book in my office, and when I come in the morning, I make my tea and I read 1 or 2 if they're like really short. So it's been sort of like a routine for me so far this summer. And this is not usually how I read. I like to like binge read a book. Like I'll start a book and finish it in like 3 days and move on to the next book. So it's like a different pace of reading. I'm trying to literally, as the title suggests, bite by bite, right? Kind of trying to take it in slowly and probably finish it before the end of the summer. But it's been really like just beautiful. Like half the time I'm like crying, drinking my tea, reading it. It's such a beautiful story and got tears. So yeah, those are the 2 books. I'm going to be modest in my ambition. Yeah. How about you,
Same. I'm actually really interested in hearing and reading Bite by Bite later. I read her it follows the same structure and pattern as her previous book, World of Wonders, that does very short, like micro essays. That's like a hybrid of like memoir and like basically a explanation of like a particular feature of nature. Flora, fauna. And it's funny, because of the short nature of those essays, I actually followed a very similar reading pattern. I would just like sit down and read like 1 a day. And I thought it was really beautiful the way she weaves memory with like a tree, like a specific species of tree. And then she kind of talks about the scientific properties of that tree, but also how it intersects with her memory. I read one to my son, actually, in which she talks about the axolotl, which is like a little cute little creature. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one. They're really adorable looking, and they've got these little pink gills, I guess, whatever they are. And they just look so cute. But they like completely destroy their food. Like it's disgusting the way that they're vicious looking when they're eating. But she's talking about how like they have regenerative properties, where like if they like lose a limb, they can regrow it or something like that, and she kind of talks about that in relation to like healing, right, from a past hurt, and how human, so the way, that's how she kind of, to give readers, our listeners, an example of how she's weaving these themes in. But I'm also keeping a very modest one. I was reading, I think one of you guys sent it to me, the Washington Post had this feature of like super readers. Oh, yeah. People who like read a crazy amount of books and how they were able to do that. And I thought it was really interesting that a lot of them are reading smarter, right? Not harder, like overlapping. And right now, I'm reading a lot of academic books, related books to education and school and coursework. So I'm trying to be strategic about the books I pick for the summer, because I do also want to make time for my reading. And so I'm also reading Burnout, the book that you recommended, because, and hearing you describe it, I'm like, yeah, I made the right choice. I haven't started it yet. Because of all of that, I want to know, what Nagoski has to say about just specifically women and stress and burnout. And I heard in reviews that she gives very practical little kind of snippets. Yes. And that's really what I am interested in. I'm also reading a book that Laura bought for me called Once Upon a Prime, The Wondrous Connections Between Mathematics and Literature by Sarah Hart, because it sort of intersects with my daily life, in which I oversee math and English. And people think, I used to think, what are these? These are like diametrically opposed disciplines, but they are so similar. And I started reading that one too. And the first section talks about the mathematics of poetics. And I was like, well, yeah, it totally makes sense, right? Because if you're learning about meter, right, and how things like, iambic pentameter and the mathematical structure of poems. And I've just been learning a lot about mathematicians who were also poets who wrote these crazy poems. I think there was one where this one poet mathematician created a poem in which you can have, it's like a 32-line poem or something, but there's infinite permutations where you can make infinite number of poems out of this one poem.
Oh, wow.
Right, by like following this like formula. And I was like, this is so fascinating, the way that, the brain works. I'm also reading a novel called The Journals of Sacajewea by Debra Magpie Earling. She's an indigenous author. Because I've always found Sacajewea to be very tragic, but also really interesting. But I've never wanted to read a novel about her because I don't want to, like, that's too much trauma. Like, I don't want to,
Right.
But I heard, I read a sample of it and the reviews, and she also takes a more poetic lens to the story. And a lot of the prose is written almost kind of like in prose verse format. And so I was really interested in that as well. And then I only have one small book. It's a book of poems by Hayan Charara. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the last name correctly, but it's called These Trees, Those Leaves, This Flower, That Fruit. And this poet wrote another book that I really liked called Something Sinister, and this one is a little bit different. The first book that I read by the poet is very intense. It has a lot of imagery from war. But this one, I think, talks a little bit more about like the day-to-day. For example, and this is what really got me to like wanting to read it. And I ordered it a long time ago, but he talks about life's countless unglamorous dilemmas. For example, crushing a spider when we promised we wouldn't, nearing madness from a newborn's weeping, and resenting our lovers for what happened in a dream. And I was like, I have done all three of those things. I would love to read a book of poems about it.
You are known for getting mad at your husband about what he did in your dream.
I try not to
unfair.
But it's like once the dream ends, the feelings are still there, I mean, what am I supposed to do with that? Just like,
so poetic.
I know.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Poor John.
He'd appreciate that empathy. So yeah, those are my my little goals. And the last one, there is the book that the three of us are reading, or Kofi, you and I are reading two together at the same time.
Yeah.
Apparently, is James by Percival Everett, and it is a retelling. What's the genre?
I've been struggling to find the right word to describe that. Like, what's the word? Like, is it retelling?
It's from a perspective.
Revision?
Yes, it's both. And you see authors do this. Like, I love when authors do this. An example of that is Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, which is I call it a response to Conrad's Heart of Darkness.
Yeah.
Where they're saying, like, okay, we're going to take in that case, a post-colonial lens to it, a colonial lens off of it, and really take a look at some of the voices that were treated in a way that didn't really recognize those voices as for their humanity. I think, who is it? Wide Sargasso Sea. Jean Rhys does the same thing with Jane Eyre.
Yeah.
And here, Percival Everett is entering into that tradition with James and what's his face? Mark Twain.
Yeah.
That's a disrespectful way to talk about it.
So it's a novel in maybe response to Huckleberry Finn, where it's written in the first person perspective of Jim. And I read it already because it's already like June 26th. So we've been in summer for a few weeks. So I already read it. I'm not going to talk about the book, but I was very excited to read it. And I know it's very popular right now. Like a lot of my friends are reading it. I have a friend who actually got a copy of Huck Finn, and she read it side by side, like kind of following the general events, or I guess. And I thought, well, that was very ambitious. But I decided I don't think I want to read Huck Finn again. Right? That was like in middle school or high school. But I don't know. I think I can't wait until we record maybe in September to talk about the book. I think there's just so much to talk about.
I'm super excited because I'm about halfway through, and as I'm reading it, I thought about it reading Huck Finn again, but then as I was reading it, he brings up the anchor kind of events that are triggering my memory. I'm like, oh my gosh, to see it from a different perspective, him dressing up as a girl, right, or him faking his own death, like, so seeing it side by side is so interesting. But I'm really excited to talk about it because it is really what Everett is doing is bringing in so much of what we have been talking about in other ways in our academic life too, about language and about, you know, even code switching, like just so many different things that are at play. And so I'm really excited to talk about it. I downloaded the audiobook to read certain passages where I'm like, I need to hear, I need to hear it. So I'll like switch over to the audiobook and then I'll just start laughing because I just love the element of the acting. Kind of like American Fiction, I felt it was Everett. I love his humor, the way that he weaves in that humor in there too. Even just from the first few pages, I was laughing about it because I was like, I know where this is going.
You two are ahead of me because I have not gotten the book and I have not read, but I am very much aware of what it is, either responding to or reimagining or just personalizing it and giving James a voice. And by calling it James as opposed to Jim, almost elevates him in a way that I think Mark Twain's characterization diminishes in some degree. Although, you know, the Huckleberry Finn character as well as Jim in the book, they come to represent some kind of duality within the Southern mind.
Absolutely.
Right? And so how do you have this rambunctious young man or boy, and then you have this person who is out of and in bondage in some ways. Right. How do these two things reconcile? And so that's an intriguing thing.
Yeah.
Well, that question is that you're so smart, Kofi.
You're
just so smart.
Even before reading the book.
I know, because that I think really is a central question. I don't want to talk about too much before we get to the episode, but I want to. Hopefully, we should remember this, and thankfully, it's recorded. Because I think we should come back to that question because I really do feel that is at the heart of a lot of what I see happening as I'm reading right now.
And I also think Percival Everett is doing this, or he has done this with a lot of his books, where he's sort of taking something that we are familiar with and putting not a spin on it, but a different lens and sees it differently.
I actually have another book by him on my list. If I finish, hopefully I'll finish A Little Life, and then maybe I want to get to that one. It's called Trees, Tree or Trees. And I don't know much about it, except the premise is it's a murder mystery, and there are these detectives there's a series of murders going on. And the conceit or the situation is that next to the body of every victim is the body of Emmett Till. That when the detectives arrive at the scene. So I was like, what? How? What does that even mean? So I like, what you were just saying about how he's taking something familiar to us and revising it, revisiting it, reimagining it, I think is really interesting. So hopefully actually I'll get to that book too before the end of the summer. But I'm really hoping that our listeners will get a chance to read James before our next recording and kind of chime in about. I also did hear that the Steven Spielberg got the rights to the book. And
he did? Yeah. Oh, that's the thing you sent us.
Yeah.
But it's attached to a different director, isn't it? Like a.
Yeah, I forget his name. He's also a famous director.
Yeah, it begins with a W.
Yeah. Spielberg's company.
Waika. He's from New Zealand.
Yes.
He did Thor.
Yes, he did.
That crazy Thor movie, and the Hitler movie with Scarlett Johansson with the imaginary Hitler.
Yes.
Taika Waititi. I always feel like his name sounds like a Hawaiian island.
Yeah.
He also looks a little bit.
Pacific Island.
Yeah, I thought
he might be. If you're from New Zealand.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting Spielberg's company or production company, I guess, and then with this director. So.
And that Percival Everett is on board.
He's
notoriously squirrely about that.
Yeah. I mean, he's having a moment, so that's a good thing.
He really is.
You know
I'm
what?
really excited for him.
Cash that check, dude. Like,
I mean, I don't know how many more summers he has left, so.
Why are you going to bring it to more?
I'm sorry.
Oh my God. You're such an English professor. Bring it back to our mortality. Remind us of our more mortal bodies.
Yeah. He has kids. He might want to make certain they have a college tuition.
I think he's covered that now.
So some of his earlier work, so obviously he's been writing for a long time, but like a lot of people, including me, are just discovering him, right? Like brand new to me. So some of his older books are actually really hard to get now.
Yeah,
they're out of print,
yeah.
you know. So I've been looking on the used bookstore online, and I think I did get a copy of, I think you mentioned it, Damned If I Do.
Yeah.
Or is it Damned If I Don't? I don't remember which one.
I think it's Damned If I Do.
Okay,
and
yeah.
it's like a Western, and they're like short stories and
I
stuff.
think it's that, short stories.
Yeah, they're kind of like set on the plains or something.
Yeah.
It's very Cormac McCarthy in some ways. If you're a Cormac McCarthy kind of person. If you're not, then you don't have to be.
I feel like I felt this way when we read Erasure, and then also as I'm reading James, is I totally imagined this author having so much fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
While writing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm going to throw this in there. I'm going to throw this in there and see how that goes. So it's experimental, very experimental feeling, but not like bizarre. Yeah. Right? You know,
There is a sense of that. I think that let's talk about that more in the episode, because that does come across, and that's what makes, I think, reading certain books, certain pieces so enjoyable for a reader, is when you sense that the author has had fun in writing it versus laboring over. There's some that are beautiful, but you can tell that the author has labored over constructing these beautiful, ornate, sentences or scenes or something like that, and that's great. Respect that, but there's something else where something feels just very light.
And not to suggest that it's not hard work, obviously. It's hard work.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's even harder.
He's writing I feel like he's writing to please himself first and foremost.
Yeah.
Like, I like this. I would read, and I think there's something,
There's value to that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I try to do that with students. Like, you should write what you enjoy, but they're so young and what do I enjoy? Yeah, they're like, I mean, it's not TikTok, so. By the way, I don't have a TikTok account, so I very rarely know what's happening on that.
Oh, don't start it.
Oh, okay, good. All right, that's good, because it might distract me.
The other day, it was like, I don't know, like 2 a.m., and I was watching clips of Hamilton, series of them, all of them, from beginning to end. No. Am I watching Hamilton? No. I'm watching this guy's reaction to Hamilton. And so I watch one, and his reaction is just so, like, I don't know, animated, and he's seeing it for the first time, so he's like shocked and crying and surprised, and I can't stop watching. Ended up watching the whole Hamilton by watching him react. Anyway,
you know what? That might be the next iteration for Bookish. There's response TikToks, right? Like to people responding to like hearing some musical group for the first time. And like people are you're into it? I'm into it sometimes. Like, what if we could, like, book talk is a thing, that shows up on my feed a lot. But what if we did a response to like, we read, I don't know, this one book for the first time. Like there's this, like, on Book Talk, there's a very strong following for, I forget her name. She writes a lot of fantasy. God, I can't remember her name right now. But apparently women record their husbands reading it and like responding because it's like this whole thing. Yeah. And so I'm like, what if, I don't know.
Book maybe talk that's is a thing. Yeah. Okay, so maybe you will have to get on TikTok, Kofi.
No. I will respond to your responses.
Okay. Well, you can at least watch the ones we send you.
Oh, yeah. I'll watch the ones you respond. And then I'll watch you guys respond and I'll comment.
It will get very meta.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I guess that's what this podcast is about. It's just responses to books we've read. It's not like...
but we're going to respond to other people's responding to other books.
Yes, there you go. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Anyway. All right. Well, for our listeners, I hope that you guys have a really productive summer reading. Feel free to pick up any of the books that we have discussed and let us know your thoughts if you do end up reading any of them. And importantly, tune in for our episode when we come back to see if we successfully made it. I'm 0 for 2 here. I need a win on the summer reading. So
I think James is going to be a definite win.
Yes, it's going to be definite for us. So please tune in to that episode where we talk about James. As you can already tell, we have a lot of thoughts already, having either read it, reading it, or pre-reading it, thinking about the idea of reading it. And there's plenty more to come, and we hope to catch up with you then. So as a reminder, you can catch us on anywhere you tune into your podcasts under Bookish, a Casual Book Club. You can also find us at bookishacasualbookclub.podbean.com directly, and you can find us on Facebook. Find us and interact with us. And I can't remember where. We're in summer mode, y'all.
Yeah.
We're in summer mode. So
it's hot outside. My brain is boiling.
I know.
All right. Y'all have a good summer.
You too.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye everyone.